Whatever,
Fired
CM
forever.
Punk.
I don't ever want to see him on pro wrestling TV again.
Exactly. I don't miss you. I never needed you. Let's get into the real deal of what we're here to talk about, and that's our top 5 fucking mid-carders of all time. Personal opinions here. Not who is the greatest, just who we think are the best 5. Opinions.
But I do believe that, okay, to me, let's qualify what a mid-carder is now that we got some time, okay? What a mid-carder to me is a person that never really aspired to go beyond where they were, but was very good in their spot, has memorable spots. I'm not talking about job guys. I'm talking about mid-carders here. And people think that that's like a bad thing, like I'm disparaging them or like insulting them, but like there's a massive place for like mid-card stories. It's very important. They play. I mean, some of these people are. You can be a Hall of Famer and be a permanent mid-carder. Like, I mean, it's a very important role in the show, whether it be a comic relief thing or whether it be just a workhorse thing and maybe you didn't quite have the charisma, or maybe you have a ton of charisma and it's just a gaga match and your match quality was kind of terrible or whatever. But you knew where your ceiling was with these guys, but they delivered every single time in that mid-role, like in a TV title or U.S. title and a Intercontinental title and in that kind of world. So that's our criteria for the top 5. Are we all on the same page on that?
Or tag title.
Yeah. Or
that's still pretty mid-card.
Yes, that's fair too. Yes, that's fair too as well. Are we all on the same page here?
Oh yeah.
I mean, I will say the aspiration thing I can't really say, because I do think that a lot of guys still had the aspiration to become main eventers. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
Sure.
But then found their niche and then like stayed in it. You know what I'm saying? Like weren't in the back bitching about how they weren't getting a push. That kind of thing.
So I do happen to get and some mid-carders get some main event pushes here or there, but overall they're still known as mid-carders.
And number 5, are we ready?
I'm ready.
All right, my number 5 best mid-carder of all time is Goldust. Now that might be a little different because like I know he's aspired to be a champion. But I feel like he played that middle role really, really well. And I feel like every time he says this, like, you want to be the world champion. It's like, I don't ever really feel like there was a point in the peak Goldust era specifically, and I specifically using Goldust and not necessarily Dustin Rhodes, is that I don't think he ever really needed to be a world champion. It's like a very much Bruce Pritchard thing to say, like, he didn't need the championship. Like, he really didn't, though. Like, but his gimmick, you're never really going to see Goldust as the world champion. I don't think anybody ever really made him a true main event contender. But in the mid-card world, he's easily a Hall of Famer, right? No one will argue that. But also no one would say he's a main eventer. And so I feel like there's value in that. So to me, Goldust, number 5, specifically 96 for me that year, untouchable. But still upper to mid-card, never quite the main event, but delivered every single time. Had a great story, memorable stuff that everyone remembers. Very great mid-carder, Goldust, number 5. Jesse, where you at?
Man, I'm going to go with one who's kind of lighting up the internet these days, but Mr. Zack Ryder.
Ooh.
Gotta say, a guy who took the initiative, got himself over with the fans, got himself over on the internet before a lot of people were really doing that, has also transformed his career post WWE after getting let go, has gotten to a point where he's like the darling of most every show that he's on. Has completely gone the route of going and taking over an indie like GCW, which would be the equivalent of somebody going in and taking over an ECW in the heyday of Monday Night Wars. It's like kind of very similar to me. Him winning the Intercontinental title at WrestleMania was one of the biggest pops I've ever heard in my fucking life, which just proves that he was being held down in a lot of ways, and God knows why, But I think Zack Ryder definitely makes this list. He is my number 5 mid-carder.
Yeah. I don't think it's the last we've seen of Zack Ryder with that wrestling name in WWE, by the way. I do think that he ends his career in WWE, as he should, especially now that Triple H is there, and now Triple H did hold him a little higher. I mean, Triple H has done the job for Zack Ryder in a singles match on Raw. Did happen. So, yeah, lots of meat on the bone there. I like that pick. Number 5 is very solid. Although, could maybe possibly be a main eventer at some point. You never know. It's still very possible.
Yep.
Late 30s, still got some time.
Oh, yeah.
Wex, what you got, number 5?
All right, coming in at number 5 for me is a dude who's still on TV, the smoking, the one, the badass Billy Gunn.
He's much higher on my list than number 5. But
oh, really? Okay. Well, he's one for me. Like even till this day, he's never really truly ever been past that mid-card level, but he's always been one of those mid-card dudes you can be invested in. And that's the whole thing by being about a mid-card wrestler. You can't just you have to be something extra special about you for me to even care. And during the whole Attitude Era, like Billy Gunn, I mean, he's probably my number 2 favorite member of DX, maybe number 3 favorite member, and he's still out here till this day with the Acclaim, with his kids, daddy ass. I mean, he's reinvented himself many times. The one Billy Gunn, the Billy and Chuck. I mean, he's done it all, and he's still out here. And I mean, I don't really want to mention his TNA run, but everything else has been pretty good.
Rockabilly was the shit.
Oh no, Rockabilly, the smoking. I mean,
smoking
anything
guns,
but TNA, honestly.
Yeah,
TNA was sad.
I mean, I don't know. His Beautiful People run in TNA was actually not that bad, but the VKM run.
Never mind. Let me talk. His TNA with Road Dogg run.
Yeah.
We don't want that. That was the fake New Age Outlaws. It was just miserable, trying to call out WWE every week when they did not give a fuck. At all. But love you, Billy Gunn.
Awesome. I love all of those. My number 4, best mid-carder of all time, if I can be serious here for a minute, is going to be Lance Storm. I think that his in-ring work is phenomenal. I think that he elevated everybody that he worked with, and he was a phenomenal wrestler in the mid-card world. But you knew he was content with where he was. Where he was booked well. For the most part, he wasn't really. I mean, he got some silly stuff, and he was in some comedic stuff through the WWF, kind of post Attitude, but not quite Ruthless Aggression. That little weird black hole window. He kind of did some comedy stuff, but he wasn't bad at it, and it filled a spot on the show. And I think that his so technically sound that I would say he's probably one of the best professional wrestling trainers of all time.
Oh, I was going to say that. That's nice.
So I mean. Yeah, Lance Storm, hell of a career. I knew if it was a mid-card match with him, it wasn't going to be a popcorn match. I was going to want to watch it, but I wasn't necessarily invested in the story that he was having. So it's a very different vibe than I had from Goldust. You know what I mean? It's completely opposite things. He's filling in a different role. I knew the match was going to be good belt to belt, period. If Lance Storm was out in the ring, it was going to be good. But I also knew that might not have the most charisma, might not really give a shit emotionally, might just have some oohs and ahs and maybe a this is awesome moment, but it's not going to hook me in. Either way, great mid-carder, phenomenal career. Wouldn't argue with him being in the Hall of Fame, especially for some other people being there. So, yeah, that's my number 4, Lance Storm. Jesse, where you at?
My number 4 shouldn't be too controversial because he really never was anything more than mid-carder, I don't believe, but is Sir William Regal.
Nice.
Wow. Nice.
I've always loved his in-ring work. Phenomenally stiff, very believable. His feud in WCW with Fit Finlay is still one of my favorite things I've ever seen. It's just some of the toughest shit ever in the history of mankind. Obviously, his ability to scout and identify talent has given him just this phenomenal post-in-ring career. I would still love to see that motherfucker wrestle a match, and I'm sure he would kill it. But, yeah, I mean, I'm just saying, Sir William Regal, I absolutely believe deserves to be on this list. He is my number 4. Kind of surprised it's not higher, and I'm very jealous that I did not include Lance Storm.
Nice. Well done. Well done. Wax, where you at, number 4?
All right, coming in for number 4 at me is one of the sickest wrestlers of all time, and that is Ain't No Stopping Me Now. Oh, wow. Shelton X Benjamin, the gold standard. No matter what company he's been for, WWE, New Japan, or not New Japan, but fuck, why am I blanking now? Noah, Pro Wrestling Noah, Japan, anywhere else he's been, he's never really quite past that mid-card level, but he's just a fucking phenomenal athlete, great wrestler who really easily could have been main event level. He just never really, I think WWE kind of held him back a little bit, and Carlito for that matter, but, he was that guy. I mean, he's still till this day one of the most great athletic guys in the ring. He can go with anybody.
Yeah.
And dude, he was just the shit back in the day. That ain't no stopping me. I got hyped when that theme song came on. I was ready to watch a Shelton Benjamin match. The gold standard was some great shit. But Japan though, Suzuki-gun, that was still some really good shit too. And even the Hurt Business and it's what it could have been was really good. Let's hope Papa H gets that back together.
Let's hope he figures it out for sure. That's going to lead into our medals here, our bronze medal here, 3rd place. And I feel like I'm going to be poo-pooing on somebody's number 1 or number 2, but my number 3 is X-Pac. I think 1, 2, 3 Kid, he's my number 3, he's my bronze medal. I mean, he's the main member of the clique that was never really a main eventer. But also too, he was kind of touted as the measuring stick. He was the guy that would say, to Vince, like in the early days and during the change of the new generation to the Attitude Era, and even into the Attitude Era, he became like kind of the barometer, like, hey, can this guy go? Does he have it or not? And so, initially when I was a kid, he was very much like a Jeff Jarrett to me with go away heat. Like I just didn't want to see him
Really?
a lot of times. Yeah.
Was this pre-X Factor or like just DX?
This is like late end of DX. Like when it's like the blooms off the rose. Like Triple H has already been in the game for a while now, but DX is kind of back, but it's like Diet DX and it doesn't really make sense and it's really convoluted. And, it was around that time when you had like I'll never forget it. It was like Billy Gunn and China versus
they had a little team going on.
X-Pac and Road Dogg for the rights to D-Generation X, like trademark.
Yep, I remember that. That was in like the early days of SmackDown.
And I was like, this is bad. Like this is bad. And I just, from then on, like from that part on, I was like, all right, X-Pac, this is enough of you. Like it doesn't make sense for you to have this name anymore. Just be Sean Waldman or go back to 1, 2, 3 Kid or figure someone else. Like that's what bothered me the most. I don't know why, because I'm a particular person, I guess, but like I was like, you're not X. There's no Generation X. What are you doing? I don't know. I just didn't like it. So either way, loved him as a mid-carder though. Like he was a sustainable guy, obviously easily a Hall of Famer, member of the Clique, legendary, bronze medal, X-Pac. Jesse, you're bronze.
I got to go with the real deal now, Mr. Dilo Brown.
Oh shit!
Nice. Well done.
I absolutely love Dilo.
Honorable mention. Almost made my list.
Yeah.
He, obviously his beginnings in Smoky Mountain as an enforcer for the Gangstas, who was like basically their bump guy. It kind of got him noticed. Bigger than one would think for a mid-card wrestler at that point in time. Once he got to WWF, he just consistently proved himself. The whole chest plate gimmick I thought was fucking genius, and it incorporated into so many matches for so fucking long. Swagger for days. His in-ring work is impeccable. His went on to be a fantastic fucking agent. Has worked for Impact for some time now. Word is he is now departing Impact Wrestling, and nobody really knows if what his next plans are quite yet. But let's just hope that he lands somewhere where his talents can still be put to use if he wants to stay in the business.
I don't think he does.
That's great. I love Dilo Brown. Actually, the last Impact taping we went to, I walked past him at like the merch table, and he was doing actually a meet and greet or a signing, and I said, "Hey, I recognize it's Dilo Brown," and he said, "You better recognize," and I was like, "Yes."
Great. It was awesome. It was well done. I was there. It was nice. Yeah, dude. Okay, I feel like this is a nice list. We're moving right along.
Excellent.
I haven't given my number 3, but my number 3 is actually literally the same as you, X-Pac.
Oh wow! At number 3,
my bronze medal, X-fucking-Pac, Sean Waltman, 6 Pac in TNA. Pretty much mentioned all the great things about him. He's the shit. I still, like I mentioned in the other episode, he has the best suck it entrance of all time. And on the video games, boom, 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 then jump up, boom. But the third one, you gotta love fucking X-Pac.
Yeah, it's a good one. It's a great entrance for sure. Before you could do like custom ones and stuff, and you had to have one like
I always chose X-Pac on my custom shoes. I would take his entrance every time.
1000%, every time. Good stuff. Let's keep it rolling here. Silver medals. This is gonna be a little controversial, I think. But it seems like we're stuck on the Attitude Era, and maybe it's because there was more focus on the mid card, and like it became a massive part of the show. Legendary guy, changed his gimmick a lot, and I really feel like gets kind of overlooked and gets pigeonholed in one of those gimmicks, which is fair because that was the height of his career. But Val Venus is my number 2. I think Sean Morley is an underrated professional wrestler. Like you can go back and watch those Val Venus matches, and he's a good wrestler, like really good, like really great punches. His splash was like amazing for his size. Like I mean that whole big ending, like it worked. Like it was a really good finish. Like he was very good. He had some pretty innovative moves for the time too, the late 90s and stuff. He could move fast enough to keep up with the newer style that was kind of happening, but he still wrestled almost like a throwback kind of style. But he was very, very good. And I thought that, I mean, Sean Morley too. I mean, when he had that like kind of corporate office like VIP or VP thing, like I thought that was a very good role for him. I thought that like the right to censor people, like people shit on that all the time, but like he got a lot of heat. People hated it. It's really memorable. And his matches, like his actual matches, were very good. No one ever thought the porn star was going to be the world, heavyweight champion. That was never going to happen. But it was
you remember
amazing.
his brief TNA run where he came back as a porn star producer because he'd retired, and he was like a director or a producer.
Yeah, that was good too. But yeah, Valvina, Sean Morley, my number 2, my silver medal. Jesse, where you at?
Silver medal has to go to none other than the enforcer, AA, Mr. Arn.
Wow.
And the thing is, for being such a legend in the business, I don't think that you can really argue that he ever ascended past the mid card in the way that he was booked. It's not to say that he didn't have some main event shots. It's not to say he wasn't in some main event angles. And it's not to say that he isn't an absolute bona fide legend in the business, because, of course, all of those things are true. As a tag team champion, helped reinvent the game entirely. As a television champion, gave that belt fucking meaning and went.
Best television champion of all time.
100%. And I mean, you could go literally every week, make everybody look like $1 million. Dude had it for days. And with the aspiration thing, I do think AA is one of those guys that was the exception. He got into it. He knew what his role was. He knew what he was there to do. And that's what he wanted to do. And he did it consistently for years and years and years. I think Arn Anderson is a very solid, deserving silver medal on this list.
Love it. It's a great spot. Well, actually, where are you at, silver medal?
All right. Coming in at silver for me, kind of some of the things that you mentioned, Jesse. Even though he is a legend in his own right, had a few main event angles here or there, but he's overall, I would say, known as a mid-carder, and that is Matthew Hardy. I think he is. I mean, he elevated the Cruiserweight Championship, the U.S. Championship at a time when, you know, it was the kind of thing they were trying to build those back up because those were a new thing that were brought over from WCW, and he really filled in those roles. And his only world title runs have been for TNA and WWECW, which, as we know, I mean, I guess so. He was a world champion, but he's overall been a tag team guy, a mid-card guy, and he always has a great. He's one of those guys who reinvents himself consistently, whether it be with the Hardy Boys, Matt version 1, Broken Matt Hardy, just his whole, even his big money Matt Hardy. I mean, he has so many great gimmicks, and whenever he's not on drugs, he's just a genius. And I love how wild some of his shit gets, and he's just one of those people, just like you said, in the 90s and the Attitude Era. It's good to have those mid-card character wrestlers that they don't necessarily need to be the champion for you to care about them. It's like you're invested in them as the character and all the wild shit they do. And Matt Hardy, I think, is a well-deserved silver medal for my second place on here.
Love it. I love it. Makes perfect sense. Let's go ahead and get to number 1, the gold medal. I haven't said it yet, and so I feel like it's kind of obvious as to who my first one is. And it's not because he's no longer with us. It's just because I don't think anybody ever thought he was going to be the champion. I know he wrestled for the title a couple times, but I mean, it's got to be Owen Hart, man. Owen Hart's number 1 greatest mid-card guy of all time. Like, there's no, in my opinion, he is the gold standard. Like, he's the guy. I mean, because sometimes it was just comedy. Sometimes it was an intense storyline. Sometimes it was tag team. Sometimes
very versatile.
Yeah, very versatile. The wrestling was always good, though. Like, literally always. The wrestling was always good. Consistency in the ring, captivating. Like, he wasn't the best promo, but like, he was unique. And like, Owen Hart has a specific promo that is missed in the business. Yeah, it's greatest of all time. I mean, he's you know, as far as that mid-level or upper mid-level, and again, that's not a slight, dude. That's like a very valuable role, and like, no doubt.
Like we said, on the potential people, he was my somebody's number 1, right?
Yeah.
Exactly. If he didn't die,
I'll put him on both lists, and I don't even care.
He could have been to that upper echelon, but dude, he's definitely. I can't be mad at you for that one. That's a good one.
No, can't be mad at all. Owen Hart, number 1, best mid-carder of all time. No disrespect. Also, we're not mid-card is not a bad term here. We're not doing that. Jesse, where are you at number 1 overall?
So I struggled with this one. Owen originally was who I was going to put. And really the only reason that I didn't is because I do still firmly believe in my heart of hearts that the World Championship era and run and everything absolutely would have happened at some point. I really do believe that. I just think that it was cut short. But for that reason, my number 1 defaulted to who I think is looked at as one of the best workers of all time, hands down. Definitely in WWE and WCW, never once like a main event person. That's Mr. Perfect Curt Hennig.
Yeah.
I called it.
Yeah.
I was mouthing it. I knew it. I knew where you were going.
I mean, you're talking about a guy that, was widely revered in the locker room. Obviously, Captain River, just like Owen, except Kurt's were maybe a little bit more devious at times.
Bullyish. Let's just be honest.
Let's just be real. But you got to, I mean, you look at his body of work. It's hard, at least until he left the WWF the first time. It's really difficult to find a bad Curt Hennig match. And there were some like later days at WCW where he's phoning it in a little bit, but he still had personality for fucking days. And the minute he walked out, people were paying attention to him. Dumb shit like smacking the gum, just the fucking look on his face. Like everything about that guy oozed a fantastic professional wrestler. And he held up the backbone of any card he was on. So my number one gold medal, top mid-carder of all time, Mr. Perfect, Curt Hennig.
I like it. Not mad at it. It makes perfect sense.
Man, I'm loving this list because all three of our gold medals are completely different. And I had Arn, and I also had Mr. Perfect, very close on my list. But my number one mid-carder of all time is Jake the Snake Roberts.
I almost
well done.
I mean, like you said, Bruce Pritchard talks about somebody who didn't need the belt, and that's a prime example. Like his fucking character work. Like his in-ring ability, he wasn't like a goddamn like you said, like a Dean Malenko, somebody who's like a worker, but he was still very solid in the ring, and his psychology and his promos and everything. Like, dude, his feud with Macho Man, where the fucking snake bites Macho, like
so good.
It is so good. Like the kids crying, like just so
possibly the best blindfold match of all time too.
Definitely,
blindfold matches are terrible.
Definitely the best blindfold match of all time.
Yeah.
Just he had it, and if it wasn't for his own, woes that got in his way, which if we really think about it, it's not really his fault. Lots of trauma in his life, but man, and watching the Jake the Snake comeback documentary with DDP, that was fantastic.
Yeah.
And he's someone who, like, just like you said, I don't think he didn't have the ability to be a main eventer. Like he easily could have did it with his fucking character, but he didn't need that. He's one of those guys that keeps you invested in the middle of the card because. Just like I've said before, like in the Attitude Era, you were wanting to watch the show from top to bottom because even the lower to mid-card guys still got you invested, still had that character, and he's one of those guys who, without yelling and screaming and like everyone did in his era, he could cut a fucking good promo and really get you hooked in.
I love it, man. I love it. Owen Hart, Mr. Perfect, Jake the Snake Roberts, sitting atop the greatest mid-card guys of all time, and I feel like not mad at any of those. Great picks, great lists overall.